Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the PipeGDAO podcast. Welcome back, friends, of course. I'm your host, Noodle, and today we're going to be talking about something which is going to be a little bit different, but it's also going to feel kind of familiar for those who have been paying attention, really. Whether we're talking about ancient Rome or Renaissance Florence or the bleeding edge of DeSci and Web3, there's one word and it never dies, and it's called patronage. In this episode, we're going to journey through history. We're going to be referencing episodes 86 and 88 of Mike Duncan's History of Rome podcast and tie what we learn in those episodes to what's happening right now in the PipeGDAO ecosystem with the Patron Portraits Program. So I ask you all to strap in because this is going to be a deep dive into wealth, class, daily life, and the internal role of patrons, from senators and togas to gDAO holders flexing their impact on chain. So we're going to start at the foundations, which is episode 86 of the History of Rome, which is called Wealth and Class. Now, we all know Rome. It was a society built on hierarchy. So at the bottom, you had the slaves, human property, legally voiceless, and then above them, the freedmen, which were ex-slaves who gained their freedom but never shook the stigma of their past. Then the free citizens, so like plebeians, equestrians, and the senatorial elite, who then went on to obviously monopolize power and wealth. And the gap between rich and poor was, of course, enormous. The elites owned sprawling estates, while the urban poor lived stacked in insulae, which is basically flats or apartments, cramped, flammable apartment blocks. And yet, the rich and poor weren't isolated each other, they were locked into the system of patronage. So, if you were a poor citizen, your survival often depended on attaching yourself to a wealthy patron. You'd line up outside their house in the morning, joining their entourage to the forum, and in return, you might get a small stipend or legal protection or even sometimes food. But patrons wouldn't do this out of charity. They did it because the clients gave them visibility, votes, and prestige. Your power wasn't just measured in denarii, it was measured in the number of people willing to walk behind you in public. Does that sound familiar? Because obviously we're going to be coming back to that. Now, moving on to episode 88 of the History of Rome, which was titled Today in the Life. Imagine, right? It's dawn in Rome and the streets are already buzzing. If you're a client, the first stop is the salutatio, the morning ritual of greeting your patron. It's not optional, it's survival. Then comes the business of the day, which would be legal cases, political deals, trading in the forum. By the afternoon, things would shift. So Romans would go and head to baths, not just to wash, but to socialize, gossip, and network. Some catch the races or a play. The day ends with cena, the evening meal, where the wealthy hosted dinners that doubled as networking events. From sunrise to sunset, life was a dance of hierarchy. So work in the morning, leisure in the afternoon, display in the evening. And at the center of it all, patronage, the invisible glue holding Roman society together. So this all comes to why patronage matters. So here's the kind of big point: was patronage was more than handouts. It was the mechanism by which inequality was stabilized. So the poor would be getting just enough to survive, whilst the rich got loyalty, votes, and a living billboard of their power. And then freedmen remained tied to their former masters, proving that even freedom would come with strings attached. Patronage was cultural, political, and economic all rolled into one. And it's why Rome could function at such a stratified society without constant collapse, at least until generals turned their armies into their clients and the Republic imploded. But the core idea endured. A patron creates legacy by supporting others, and a client gains security by aligning with power. So, fast forwarding to today with the PipeGDAO's Patron program. So, we're bringing this into the present because Rome has, as I'm sure you're aware, fallen. But patronage, it never died. It just kind of went on to evolve. So talking it in context to the PipeGDAO patron program, instead of lining up outside a senator's villa, you line up digitally. So by holding 10 gDAO tokens on the Layer 1X network, instead of a daily coin handout, you get something new, which would be a patron portrait commissioned in your honor. And this is going to be how it works. So you connect your wallet, verify on Telegram, and choose whether you want to upload your real likeness for a docs portrait or your online persona like PFP or digital avatar if you prefer to stay undoxed. You then pick from 10 cultural themes and 5 garment colors. So only 2 portraits per day get created, so scarcity baked in. Each portrait takes 24 to 72 hours to commission, and when it's done, it's shared in the gDAO's community Telegram. And here's the kicker: each patron only gets 1 portrait ever. Even if you commission multiple times, there will never be more than 1 portrait tied to your patronage. That's what preserves the rarity and legacy. And then on top of that, the token gate gets harder over time. So today, times 1 cost, potentially in January 2026, times 10, April 2026 times 100, and then July 2026 times 1,000. That's not just scarcity, that's legacy pricing. You're buying into something that only gets harder to attain as the community grows. So just like in Rome, the number of clients walking behind you showed your clout. In Web3, your patron portrait is proof that you were here early, supporting science and innovation through Pipe. So patrons then and patrons now, and what's the parallel? So ancient Rome, patrons would give out stipends and protection. Clients gave loyalty and prestige, whereas in the PipeGDAO, patrons hold gDAO, commission portraits, and fund innovation. In return, they get cultural recognition, digital immortality, and community status. Both systems tie wealth to legacy. So in Rome, your bust might end up in marble. In Pipe, your portrait is immortalized on chain. And just like Roman patronage stabilized inequality, Pipe flips the models, it stabilizes. Community funding for real-world impact, university R&D, DeSci breakthroughs, refi projects. It's not just a flex, it's legacy. So when you zoom out, patronage is one of those eternal human patterns, from slaves and freedmen in ancient Rome to gDAO holders commissioning patron portraits. The idea is the same. Those with resources shape the future by supporting others. But here's the difference. In Rome, patronage locked society into a hierarchy. In Pipe, patronage opens doors. It democratizes impact finance and decentralizes innovation. So the question I want to leave with you is this, which is: in 2,000 years, will historians look back at Web3 patrons the way we look back at Roman senators? Will our on chain portraits be the new marble busts, proof that we were the ones funding the future? That, friends, is up to us.